What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down why on earth we have a very big week ahead of us. We have FOMC, we have earnings, we have big data coming out that will affect how NIO moves. So I'm going to break down what this data is, what you should be watching for as a NIO investor, and what I do expect to be happening to the NIO share price for the time being. And before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, whether it's $1 or $100, it's up to you. You're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So NIO was up about 4.44% for the day on Friday. Had a pretty decent day, but I do have some very important warnings for all NIO investors. And that's based off what's coming out for this week and the amount of bearish signals I'm getting for the market. I do believe, to be blunt with you, there's going to be a big reversal very soon, maybe during the FOMC day, maybe the day after because of Apple earnings. But eventually, I do see a very big reversal, like super soon. And I do believe it's going to drag the entire market down, including NIO. But before the reversal comes, we likely have Monday and Tuesday. So I want to break down those days first and what you should be watching for the week. In terms of economic data, there's not much coming out other than jobless claims for Thursday. And then on Friday, we have unemployment data. They're both important, but not as huge, in my opinion, for the volatility of the stock market as these other two big factors. And they are, firstly, earnings. This is going to be big specifically for Wednesday and Thursday. We do have some big ones for Monday, like SoFi. Tuesday has ExxonMobil. We have Snap. And then Wednesday, we have Meta, Peloton, T-Mobile, pretty big. And then Thursday is the huge day for earnings. We have Amazon, we have Apple, we have Alphabet, we have Ford, we have Starbucks, we have Sony. We have a ton of big giants after the market closes on Thursday. That's going to be big. And right now, many people are anticipating that Apple's going to miss. If that happens, it could drag the market down. But before we have the big earnings, we also have FOMC on Wednesday. This is going to be huge because Jerome Powell is going to be speaking. Now, if he gives us a 50 basis point rate hike, which I think is very unlikely, but if he does, the market's going to crash, unfortunately. But I think that's unlikely. I think he's most likely going to give us a 25 basis point hike, right? And if he gives us 25 basis points, well, the market's going to move depending on what he says. That's going to be the bigger factor. If he's a big hawk, if he's super hawkish, the market could still come down pretty hard. So I just want everyone to be prepared for it. Now, I also believe, based off many technical indicators, there's going to be a big reversal in the markets. I think the markets are going to come down. I believe Jerome Powell might play a big role in that. And as you know, the Fed speaker, it's very important that the chairman of the Fed, I don't know why I called him the Fed speaker, but to him, it's very important that the markets are not just, exploding too high. I believe that he wants there to be a bit of a rug pull. The Fed wants there to be pain. And on top of that, there's more work to be done because I'm going to make another video about this. Maybe I'll show you some data tomorrow or later on. But basically, it's very likely inflation's going to go up for the month of January. So when the report for January comes out in 2 weeks, there's likely going to be an increase in inflation month over month. Be very careful, guys, because that's not going to be the best for the markets. Jerome Powell knows this. He might have to be hawkish. I just want to warn you right now. Now let's talk about NIO. Obviously, we have some very interesting things coming out involving NIO. I want to note that the price-price ratio has been on a bit of an uptrend, But even though it's been on this uptrend, it's not as sharp as those other rallies NIO has had. So it's not as strong as what it once was. This could change in the future, of course, but as of right now, NIO is not exploding unless we get a big piece of news, which I'm not seeing as of right now. But so far, it's just slowly outperforming the market. But as you can see, it's heavily affected by the way the market moves. Look at NIO's structure compared to SPY. They don't have to be exactly the same, but look at this. We have a pop here, we come down, another pop, we come down, and then they both push in a very similar manner. Compared to QQQ, very, very similar. Look at NIO and the QQQ. Super similar. They look almost identical over the last 2 to 3 months. Almost identical. Look at this trend. They both came down together, they went up together. The point I'm trying to make is NIO tends to move with the market. And I'm seeing signs that the market's going to reverse soon, which means NIO will likely get dragged down. I'm going to show you in just a couple of minutes. The last thing I want to note is the short interest on NIO has been increasing. Shorts are starting to pile in. They could be very relentless. As of right now, NIO's volume is a little bit above average. At least it was on Friday. That's pretty decent, but we still have to be careful with the catalyst to come. The short volume percentage has been dropping. That's a bullish sign for NIO. But if this thing gets a spike up with the market, just like moments like this, that's when we could get those slowdowns. So when it's this low for this long, I'd be very, very cautious. So NIO is in a very critical zone. Right here in December, I noted to everyone that for about 2 to 3 weeks, NIO was stuck in this chop zone between like 12 to about the high 13s, but particularly, excuse me, between 13.18 and 13.42, we have major resistance. That's the reason why I ended up highlighting that area in the chart currently. So now what I want to do is talk about what you should be anticipating. So if NIO pushes up, the resistance is between the heavy resistance is at 13.18 to about 13.42, this zone right here. And if we come down, 12.5 followed by 12 are going to be the support areas. Now, I want to warn you that NIO has a gap in the 11s. We have another gap in the 11s. So we have two gaps in the 11s. And we also have another gap in the 10s. NIO is going to likely fill these gaps over the next couple of weeks, in my opinion. Over the next month or so, I believe there is going to be some major downside. I know you don't want to hear that. I like completely understand, but if this is what the charts are telling us, we have to be prepared for it. So what do I see happening in the markets? I'm just going to briefly go over this because I have gone over this a while back. We are getting a bearish divergence forming on SPY, on the hourly RSI, and then on the daily, same exact thing. And we're also seeing right now the MACD is still kind of open on the daily, which means there is still some room for us to continue to fight. But like I said, we have major resistance between this like 410 to 412 area. I don't really believe we're going to break out of it, or at least strongly. We need a strong break. Even if we like hit like 411 and come straight down, that's still not enough in my opinion. So that's why I'm still very cautious. I believe we either topped at 408 and we're going to come down, or what the market could be doing is we trade a little sideways for maybe Monday, maybe push up a little bit. Then by Tuesday, we start to come down because of more put buying to hedge for the FOMC. It could happen on either day. And if that's the case, then we could see some big downside after FOMC. And I still believe that's going to happen. Don't forget about the VIX. I was telling you all about the VIX. Where is my VIX? I was telling you all about how the VIX is at this very low level. We also have a bullish divergence developing on the VIX, which is pretty insane, in my opinion. If you look at the divergence right here, bullish divergence forming right here on the VIX. Once again, suggesting that the VIX might make a big move to the upside, maybe after FOMC, maybe sometime like that. QQQ, let's see. We also have what I'm seeing as I'm also seeing a potential bearish divergence developing here because we're at a very flat state and yet the RSI is much higher. This is still once again signaling a potential reversal on the triple Q. Once again, that would drag NIO down, especially as the 10-year yields are starting to push up. If you want to look at other stocks, I could quickly go over them. I don't really talk as much about like XPong, for instance. If you want to look at this, we are up, but once again, we also have a divergence right here, a bearish divergence on uh, this stock right here. I would anticipate some downside. Big gap down here. It's likely going to come down in the future. It's almost identical to NIO. Very, very similar trend. And that's what's so interesting about these EVs. They tend to have very similar trends. For Tesla, let's see Tesla. I want to note that Tesla looks strong. I mean, look at that daily candle. It's going to keep fighting and might try to keep the market up. But on the bigger time frame, where is it? I think I have to zoom out on the weekly. I noticed something pretty interesting too. So on this time frame, there is this like giant head and shoulders like formation that came onto Tesla, and we are at the major resistance right over here. We're very close to it. It's going to be around this 180 to 182 zone, which is why I mentioned it's some big resistance. We're near the 200 EMA on the weekly, which happens to be at about 183. So watch that zone very carefully. I do believe it's possible for us to try to break out of this. It is still possible. It might try to and drag the market up just a bit, but I do expect some downside maybe on Tuesday. That's going to slow things down. And once FOMC comes, man, this whole thing could reverse. And if that's the case, the entire EV sector could reverse. So for NIO, what I'm predicting is this. I believe NIO is going to keep trying to fight. Okay? Tomorrow. It's going to try to push, it might try to get back to 13. We're going to trade kind of sideways. And then by the time we get to like Tuesday, I anticipate this thing to start coming down a bit because of put buying due to many institutions hedging for FOMC. And then by the time we get to FOMC, I do believe we're going to likely see a bearish reversal, leading to NIO coming down, Tesla coming down, the market coming down, in my honest opinion. All right, so please be very careful. If it isn't FOMC, that's the bigger trigger. It could also be Apple earnings. And even if that doesn't cause it, February 14th, I do believe CPI is going to be relatively high. That could actually cause the reversal too, or even make it worse. But I don't think it's going to take that long. I think we're almost there. By this week, I do believe the reversal is going to come, so watch it very carefully. For NIO, I expect it to trade kind of sideways in this range right here. Tomorrow, it might close kind of flat, maybe a little green. For Tuesday, I anticipate some downside. NIO will likely start to approach 12. And then by the time we get to Wednesday and beyond, that's when I believe NIO is going to start to see more bearish price action and start filling these gaps down to the 11s. Okay, by the time we get to next week, especially, I do believe the Fed is going to be hawkish. That's just my 2 cents. And I think all the bearish signals are suggesting that to happen. So, anyways, that's what I have for this video. I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Enjoy your Sunday, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright. And peace out.